I think it's very important because we live in a world of a lot of differences in religion. Even within Christianity, we have many denominations. In Africa, we have many ethnic groups. So it's not just about different races, but also different ethnic communities. And these people live together with all their differences. Sometimes there are conflicts over these differences, especially ethnic and religious differences. So the culture of encounter is important because people need to live together in peace. People need to understand the other. They also need to listen to the other, to avoid the stereotyping, to avoid judging them. And these stereotypes and profiling people ethnically, religiously, in terms of race, in terms of gender, which is another important category. It's very important for people to appreciate differences, to appreciate the other, to learn from the other, and this can only happen through listening. Yeah. I would say I've come to this understanding, of course, through study. One of the courses that I teach, and I co-teach it with another colleague, is interfaith dialogue. And of course, when you teach courses on charismatic and Pentecostal groups, again, you enter into another space of encounter because Pentecostal groups are the ones that are growing fastest in Africa, and they have become a challenge to other faith communities, especially the mainline churches. So through teaching these courses and through even encountering these differences, because I collect data, I do primary research, and so I encounter members of these churches, leaders of these churches, and one of the questions I ask them is, how they view, especially the other churches, mainline churches or African instituted churches, and these are churches that were started by Africans during the colonial period and immediately after independence. And they are still there, comprising about quarter of the population in Africa and even in Kenya. So I become curious to know how they perceive other denominations, even other religions, although Kenya does not have a Muslim problem like in Nigeria, and other parts of Africa, like even Central African Republic. It is still important to be aware of the religious differences that we have. Muslim communities, we have Hindus, we have Buddhists, we have practitioners of African religion, and they belong to the same families. You'll find a family with a Hindu, with a Muslim, even with the traditional practitioners, and they have to live together. So unless they appreciate each other, they may not understand each other completely, but at least they appreciate the difference that they have and live and let live, and not harass people or demonize them because they belong to a different faith or a different denomination than the other. So I've also done research on ethnic conflicts and how religion is a factor in ethnic conflicts. And this has also led to my encounter with people in communities where there are conflicts. I've supervised theses of my students, like there is one currently working on ethnic conflicts in Western Kenya, and what role religion can play in resolving the conflict. So I would say that is how my journey on issues of encounters, cultural, religious, ethnic, how it has grown and developed. Yeah. I wouldn't say that I have participated in such negotiations, but what I have encountered is talking to religious leaders, like the National Council of Churches, some in the Justice and Peace Commission of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Kenya, and then participating in a commission in Kenya that was looking at how issues of peace, justice, and reconciliation can be handled from different faith perspectives. It was called the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission. So I was asked to write a paper on what it means, what reconciliation means from a Christian theological perspective. And so I did some research, I talked to some leaders, then I wrote another paper with another colleague from Nairobi University, and this was on the participation and of the churches in Kenya in resolving the post-election violence. So again, for this paper, I had to do some primary research and interview church leaders about what they were doing after the post-election violence of December 2007 and early January, February 2008. So from these interviews and preparing for this paper, I came to see the importance of dialogue. Dialogue became a very important factor because the whole event, all the activities that led to the post-election violence were very complicated because some of them had roots even before the crisis itself. Some of them were instigated by politicians seeking power, but there were also deep-rooted experiences of injustices that go on back to the independence era or beyond the independence era. And some of this woundedness that people were experiencing, it was vented out during that post-election violence. But the churches, the religious leaders, because they all came together from different faiths, because there is an interreligious council of Kenya. So within the different faiths and within the ecumenical initiatives of the Catholics, the Protestants, and so forth, this dialogue yielded it yielded positive fruits, because from the work of the churches, seeking dialogue, seeking listening to people's hearts, people's experiences, the churches were able to negotiate with the political leaders a kind of an armistice, a kind of end to the crisis. And later, together, of course, with other international leaders, but the churches played a very great role in negotiating peace and also trying to find a lasting solution towards that kind of conflict arising out of political differences and ethnic differences. I think for us, if I would talk about Kenya or Africa, for that matter, interfaith dialogue is important. It may, I've said there is no there are no religious conflicts, like happens in some other parts of Africa or the world. but it is an important issue to address for the continent. Issues of climate change, climate justice are also very important. We are already experiencing in Africa, even in my own country, Kenya, long periods of drought. And after the drought, heavy rains, flash floods that lead to great havoc, family homes and land, animals being drowned. So there is a lot of damage that comes with it, a lot of flooding, as well as and also droughts. So the issues of climate justice are very, very important to us in Africa. Issues of refugee crisis, it's true. Africa has the largest number of refugees within the continent. There are even more within the continent than outside the continent. And the crisis is fueled by politics, it's fueled by and the environmental crisis itself. So these are very important issues for the world and for us in Africa. Yeah. So there needs to be solutions to them and the compliance with the international agreement. Yeah, about carbon emissions and so forth. Yeah. Because Africa gets the brunt of the climate crisis, and yet it does not produce so much carbon from the fossil fuels like the northern world, so and the industrial world. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's really important that these issues are examined and dealt with.